I've been working on making some cool and comfortable tops for the summer. And I went through all my patterns and found something, and I had some linen fabric that I've had for many, many years, probably 10 years or 12. And I decided, okay, I'll go ahead and make that first. And the pattern that I chose is really, really cute. Got these cute little openings at the bottom and the front and back, and it has buttons down the back. So today I was just going to show you how to make a buttonhole in linen. The buttonhole foot, I have the 770 QE. It could be a little different for the 8 series and anything below 7 series. But the buttonhole foot is really unique. And it's really neat because you don't have to do anything. It will do every bit of the work for you. And the buttons that I'm going to be using on my little top have kind of a little shell design on them. And they are at least, let's see here, they're at least 5/8 and maybe 7/8 of an inch button. The pattern called for 5/8, but you know, we go rogue and we do whatever we want. So I've got my buttonhole foot on, and I have been using it today. So when I pull this up, it might already have this buttonhole in it, but we'll see. So you're going to go to your buttonhole icon, and you'll pick whatever kind of buttonhole you want. You have got all kinds of selections here. This is to sew your button on, just does a zigzag stitch in the buttonholes. And these are for eyelets, and might be for, I don't know what that's for. I'll have to look it up and let you know, but I'm pretty sure that's an eyelet. But what do we got here? 3, 5, 8, 11 buttonholes to choose from. And on my little pink top, which is linen fabric, I'm going to use buttonhole number 54. Yep, it did pull it up, but we'll go in and we'll change it around and put it back. It says 22 millimeters. I believe that's what that is. So when you're deciding how big to make your buttonhole, in the past, it's always been a real problem because you had to figure it out for each individual buttonhole. And with the Bernina buttonhole foot, you don't have to do any of that. This will make thousands of buttonholes exactly the same if that's what you want. So you take your button and you're going to go here, and you'll see this yellow circle, and we can move that yellow circle bigger or smaller, and it's asking that you put your button right on that yellow circle. Let me see if I can get you a little closer here. I don't know. There we go. Maybe now. Okay. So there's the yellow circle. Here's my button. And I'm putting my button right in the middle of the circle on the screen. And now I'm going to just make my buttonhole, the size of my button as big as the button that I'm holding up there. I'm just going to make that circle go on the outside of my button. And that's about right, I think. Right. So I've got it 21.5 millimeters. And it looks pretty good. I can see the yellow circle all the way around the outside of my button. And I like that pretty good. So I'm gonna take my button away, close my screen, and it's already added, it says 23.5. It's already added enough to do the bar tack and this little guy around the end there, that pretty little stitching on the end. So now you don't ever want to just take your project right in. You need to be sure and do a sample. It's kind of like swatching when you do knitting. You'll be really sorry if you don't do this. So I'm going to try to fix it so that you can see a little better. There we go. Okay, so now on the first buttonhole, if you want to, you can take your foot off and reach under here and grab your thread and bring it to the bottom. And if you don't want to, you can hold it out of the way. It'll work either way. So now I've got both my threads where I can get a hold of them. And I'm going to just sew one buttonhole, and then we're going to check and see if my button fits. And I usually sew right along. And I'm just barely touching this fabric. I don't pull it or push it. The machine will do everything, and it knows how many millimeters it's gone. And if you stop with your needle down, you'll know when it quits, or you're up either one. It'll just quit when it's done with the sequence. There's a really, really pretty buttonhole. And so there's my buttonhole. I've done several, and get it under the light here where you can see it. That looks pretty good. All right, let's check and see if my button will go through there. Oh my goodness, yes, my button will go through there just fine. So you can either take your scissors and fold your fabric and do a little snip, and you make sure you don't get any of the buttonhole threads. My scissors are dull, of course. Or you can take a seam ripper, and there are other buttonhole cutters that you can purchase too. But you can take a seam ripper and just go real slow and just go right down the middle of your buttonhole. I usually go really, really slow. And I don't typically like using a seam ripper, but all my scissors need sharpened. It's that time of year. And there, my button fits through there just fine. Just perfect. Okay. So we'll put one now, we'll put one or two on my new top. Okay, so I've got my pretty top here, and I've tested out my buttonhole the way we did, and so now we're going to go ahead and I've already made a couple of buttonholes down this way. And so I've got 2 or 3 left to do, but I'll do one on camera here, and I've marked it, I have marked it with a heat erase pencil, and I don't think you can see it the very best, but I'm putting the fabric under the presser foot exactly where the needle will go in, and on the very end of my line that I've drawn. And I do have a little bit of a bulk here in this seam allowance because this is interfaced and lined. So I have lining and interfacing, and I have the front and the back, so it's kind of thick right there. And there is an attachment that you can get for your buttonhole foot that keeps everything level if you have a lot of bulk right there. But I usually can, on linen, this is linen, I can usually make it work pretty good. And my goal is to keep this line that I've drawn with my heat erase pencil straight inside this opening of my buttonhole foot. And I'm using buttonhole number 54. So I'm going to hold my threads, and we are going to take off down through here. Let me get my foot control where I can reach it a little better. Things are different when you've got a camera. Hold on. Oh, here we go. All right, now I think I'm good to go here. Let's move you back where you can see what's going on. Sorry for all the bumbling around here. Okay, here we go. And I usually go at a pretty hefty speed, and I try not to have any of my garment pulling down. You know, when we're doing edge-to-edge quilting, we say drag. The weight of the quilt is drag. Well, the weight of your garment can cause drag also. So we don't want to, that will really throw your buttonhole off. And I have my needle down position engaged. So there is my buttonhole. Let's trim it up. Let's see if I can raise my presser foot up. Come on, there we go. And there's my presser foot, or my buttonhole. And my presser foot. And I do usually, on something like linen, I do usually put a little dot of fray check where my threads end. But there's the back, and there's the front. So there you go. That's how you do a buttonhole.